By the end of this video, we're gonna find out if the iPhone 11 is worth it here in 2022. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Welcome to 2022. Happy New Year. Hope you're having a great one. I just want to recover this phone, and here's why. This is the last, iPhone with an LCD at this size range. We might see a resurrection of something like this in the iPhone SE 3 just in this quarter coming up here in the first quarter of 2022. But for now, at $499, you can still pick up an iPhone 11 here in 2022 in 6 different colors. You can also go to $549 for the 128 gigabyte. And I did the same exact video 1 year ago, but this year it's a different story because not only do we have the iPhone 12 that came after the iPhone 11, as you can see right here, it's in a case, it's a red one. But we also have the iPhone 13 that just came out this year. So you have better options, of course, but now you can decide, do I want to save that cash and just pick up an 11 until maybe they do something a little bit more revolutionary with the 14. Okay, so really quickly, the body of this phone. We do have an aluminum glass sandwich design here. So curvy edges. We did go to the square design. So this is starting to feel a little bit old at this point for sure, but it still feels comfortable. And some people actually like the way that curves into the hand right there, giving you that comfortable feel. I actually miss this. The newer squared iPhones are just not as comfortable to hold, but they definitely look more classic Apple, like the iPhone 5S. You also have the dual camera design here, which brought the wide angle, the 12 megapixel 4K 60, and it's a strong overall build here as well with the glass rear. This phone is durable. It feels like a brick. I'm not even kidding with you. The bezels at this point are a bit thicker than I think a lot of people would like, but in 2022, I would say holding this phone from straight on, it still looks like a modern iPhone. Flipping it around, if you have a clear case on, people would have to do a double take to see if that's a 12 or an 11. So it still has a pretty good overall design. I would say, yeah, in terms of looks, overall, it doesn't look bad at all. It's still a solid machine here in 2022. But if you do like the squared edges of the newer iPhones, this is starting to look a little bit long in the tooth here. You do have a nice power button right there. And on the bottom lightning port, on the left side, you do have the silent switch volume rockers. But that notch is a little bit wider as well. It's the older notch. We don't have the thinner 13 notch, so keep in mind what you'll be dealing with here, but it does have Face ID. But I'm not going to give it all praise. My only issue with this phone at this $499 price is that for only 100 or 200 more, you can get the newer phone. But also, a lot of phones came out in the past couple years that feel nicer, that are a little bit premium, like the FE series from Samsung. They're going to be launching a new one. You're kind of getting a lot of phones that kind of like could take this down in terms of value. So it's not probably the best value out there, but here's the key. This one still runs iOS in the latest official version of iOS, the iOS 15.2, and that is a huge difference between a lot of the competitors, which are running Android that don't get updated as often, as frequently. So the software could be, you could say, is king here. And that leads me on to talking about the display. One area people would say that display is just trash, but the people that actually own the iPhone 11, go look at the reviews. Just Google iPhone 11 reviews. You'll see consumers saying, I have no issue with the iPhone 11's display. I can't even tell the difference. It's vibrant, it's beautiful. It has dark mode, it has true tone, it has night shift. I don't really have an issue with it either. When I'm reading on this display, I'm not thinking, oh, this display is whack, nothing like that. But when I do look at one of the newer phones, then I'm like, okay, yeah, it kind of is a little bit weak compared to an OLED or something like that. But some people say that the OLED hurts their eyes. So this could still have a strong suit for some people. And LCD actually gets pretty bright here for the iPhone 11, 625 nits. And we don't have 3D touch, so it's not super fast there. But I gotta say, a display, it's acceptable. It's just nothing that's gonna be like groundbreakingly beautiful. It's a solid display. There's just not much to write home about. It's not the best on the market. It just works. And in 2022, I think it's usable. It's not going to destroy your life in terms of the viewing experience, but it's also not going to blow you away if you've seen an OLED. So definitely average at best here in 2022. Okay, so software. We have the app library. This thing launched with iOS 13. It's been upgraded all the way up to the iOS 15.2 as I showed you earlier. So it's just about the same experience that you're going to find on the newer iPhones. And in some updates, it did get even more camera features. So overall, this iPhone right here feels as modern as using an iPhone 13, which is very nice. And you can kind of see why they decided to keep it around here. The picture quality is also still very excellent here. I'm going to show you some samples later in my camera section of this video, but excellent overall results for the camera for the iPhone 11. You're not going to be disappointed. Even now, I would take this phone out, gladly take a video for this channel and not even think twice about it. Back to the software. We got a little bit on a tangent with the camera there. You do have widget support as well here, just like the other iPhones. A nice touch that I like that they brought to iPhone. When you look at an iPhone 13 Pro Max, you look at any of these newer phones, one of the reasons why a lot of people think, you know, the iPhone series could potentially be getting a little boring is because they're all running the same thing, but it's kind of more like a diversification method where Apple has brought multiple different ranges. So a lot of people and a lot of consumers could access this depending on their budget. And the iPhone 11 is a great way into iOS at a lower price point. If you want a bigger screen, if you want a smaller screen, you got the mini and you got the SE, but this one solid on the software. And while we're talking about software, we might as well talk about that A13 and 4 gigabytes of RAM. The performance is strong. If you see my speed tests, it doesn't slow down. The A13, these chips, man, I mean, we're talking about iPhones that, you know, do mobile-based tasks. We're not running video editing like we're going to see on a freaking, you know, computer the same way. I mean, you can do it on here, but you know, this is more power than most people are going to need. I don't even think most people are going to stretch this to its limits, like push the A13 to its limits. Even now in 2022, you can do anything you want. And that means that every time a new iPhone comes out with the A15, the A16, it's going to be the same thing. We're just going to have great performance and we're just going to be saying the same thing because Apple's chip game has been strong for a super long time. Now, the only thing that is disappointing by comparison is the 60 Hertz. If you look at a newer 120 Hertz ProMotion display, you'll notice this thing looks a little bit choppy on the scrolling, but that's only by comparison to ProMotion. All right, so talking about the camera. The thing is that smartphones in 2021 really pushed having ultra cameras. This thing doesn't zoom the farthest. It can go 5x. It also isn't the widest angle on the market. It also can't do 8K, but it can do 4K 60, and the video has amazing autofocus, better than a lot of those ultra Android phones. So this camera is still strong, and I think some people would argue this is better than some of those, you know, Chinese phones that like to have 17 million cameras on the back and say, oh, we got 8K, but then you try the 8K and it's choppy and it's choppy. So definitely the video here is strong. Even on the front, they still have the same 4K 60 camera on this camera that they have on the newer iPhone. So definitely this is a good overall package even in 2022. And I still think you're capable of some professional results. If you do your own editing and you know how to frame things properly, people are still going to be impressed with your photography if you know what you're doing. Check out my samples here. These are some new samples I haven't shared before, and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, so let's cover the battery section for this phone. Now, this battery is only a 3110 milliamp hour battery, so it's not the largest. There's some Android phones out there with 5,000 plus milliamp hour batteries. But here's the thing, somehow, some way, Apple finds a way to make these phones last. I think it's through the optimization of the software, hardware. They control it really tightly. In addition to that, their low power mode is not no gimmick. It actually gets you a good hour better battery life. This also can charge fast at 18 watts. Not the fastest on the market, but it's solid. Let's give it some credit where credit's due. It's not the best, but it's decent. The battery on this phone was impressive. 1.5 days for me. Heavy use though, you're gonna look at about 1 day, but it's not gonna let you down. You'll make it through your day even now in 2022. That's what I really like about the iPhone 11. It still has a pretty decent battery. Now on the topic of audio, I'm not gonna play audio in this video here, but the audio is stereo speakers. We have a stereo speaker down here and then up here. It does give you a pretty loud overall sound and pretty nice at the higher end of the volume spectrum as well. That's pretty good. Now, I will say too that this does feature Bluetooth 5.0. So when connecting to Bluetooth on here, you're not going to be at 5.2. It's not the fastest out there, but AirPods and Beats and things that work with Apple products smoothly work incredibly well on this phone right here. So this is also pretty good. And then of course we have Face ID biometric unlocking, although man, this is a really nice size power button. I would have liked to see a Face ID, or not Face ID, Touch ID right there. But some people say, I don't like Touch ID, I like Face ID. It's up to you. You got to have an Apple Watch to go ahead and unlock with a mask though. Do keep that in mind. But I want to wrap it up here. There's not really a whole much more to talk about, but starting the year in 2022, Apple still sells this thing. So if you want this in 6 different colors, you know, this is the cheapest, largest iPhone you're going to buy brand new here at the start of 2022. And the reason why I covered it is a lot of people still talk about how they're getting this phone. They're upgrading to this from 8s, 8 pluses. Yeah, if you're like one of those people watching this channel and you got one of the latest and greatest because you're into tech, realize a lot of consumers are still buying this guy right here. As a matter of fact, I bought some family members this phone just late last year. So definitely I still recommend it. It's a solid option. Not the best iPhone out there, but solid nonetheless. Let me know your thoughts on iPhone 11, where you stand on this one, and stay tuned because I have a Should You Buy iPhone 2022 series that will be continuing all this week. So be subscribed for that. Nick here. Be sure to be well. Have a happy new year. I will catch you all in the very next episode, and peace.